honeysuckle soup on a hot summer day. Coffee comes back in a nerve-wracking way. The dishes and laundry take the garbage out. What a day, what a day, what a day.
Well, welcome to Capital Region Today. I'm so happy you're joining us today. We've got a great lineup. As always, we have such great guests. And actually, today is December the 7th. I think that's Pearl Harbor Day, isn't it? Does somebody remind me of that? Yeah. But anyway, we're here to tell you about a lot of great things that are going on in our community, especially with the holidays coming up. There's so many good things coming up. We're going to be talking about the Messiah, which of course the Octavo Players does every year. Well, except for 1 year, I think, with the pandemic. And then we have the Albany Guardian Society on, which is really exciting. This is the first time they've been on our show. We're going to find out about what they're doing. They're an amazing group. Where do you hear about them? And then we're going to be talking about the Harbinger Theater. They've got a play coming up called The Agony and the Agony. Well, that was kind of an interesting title. We'll talk about that. And then we're going to be talking with the Folklore, New York Folklore. And we have a fabric person that does fabrics and wreath making, so that'll be fun to talk about as well. So we're going to start right out with our first guests, and our first guests are from the Octavo Players, and that would be Andrew. Did Michael show up? Excuse me, Michael. No. Okay. I'm sorry. I was just looking for another guest. Yeah, we have Andrew Berger, and he's the artistic director here, and we also have our the president is Diane Deacon, and she is the president of the Octavo Players. So, welcome.
Welcome.
You were here before.
Well, thanks for having us back.
And I'm going to welcome you again because you're the brand new guy on the block.
That's right.
And how's the group doing with the Messiah?
The group is doing great. And if I could just make one correction, the Octavo Singers have actually had a couple of years off since doing this concert.
Was it 2 years? I couldn't
2019
remember.
Was the last time we did a full production like this. So even more exciting to be back.
Yeah. And you're doing the Messiah, of course.
That's right.
And you're doing it in the beautiful chapel.
Yes, at Union College. It's a great space to sing. It's a great place to have really any kind of performance. And we'll have our full choir. Last time we were here, I estimated about 70 voices. Well, in the couple of months that have passed, we're upwards of 90 now.
Is that wonderful?
That's right.
Because you were really worried in the beginning that was everybody going to be coming back, and
yes,
that was the whole thing.
and we're.
Have you rehearsed there yet?
We will have our full rehearsal there this week.
Okay,
yes.
So then you're going to hear the sound.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
the orchestra.
Yes, and the orchestra and the soloists, our great lineup of soloists with us. Okay. The group has sung there a lot, so they're pretty used to it. But every year's a little different, so we'll be glad to get our rehearsal in there before showtime.
This is exciting, and the Messiah is such a tradition.
It really is.
It's a tradition almost in every community that has a vocal group, that does that. How are you settling in with this group? Because you're brand new.
Well,
I know you've done the others. You've done other groups as well.
I'd like to think I'm settling in well. I seem to be very well received.
We definitely agree.
I have a lot of people in the choir who really appreciate my style of conducting and all of the ways that I like to teach. Even a piece so well known as Messiah, you can always learn something new every rehearsal.
Now the Messiah, how long is that? Because it's a long piece.
It's a bit long comparatively. So
we all know the Hallelujah Chorus.
Right, exactly.
All that, but there's more to it than
there's
that.
There's a lot more to it.
It's the entire story.
It's the entire thing. So you say it's special to hear Messiah in a lot of different communities. It's very well performed year after year, but something that makes ours special is we do the whole thing, and the whole thing is about a 2.5-hour work, which puts it on par with a lot of operas. It's basically, the whole drama and music of a full Baroque opera up there on stage with chorus right in the center.
But you have the orchestra. What orchestra are you working with?
So these are our Octavos Chamber Orchestra.
Okay, you have a chamber orchestra.
And this is many players from the Schenectady Symphony we're very happy to collaborate with, and other local players as well.
Yeah, that's great. They all come together for that wonderful afternoon at 3 o'clock at the Memorial Chapel at Union College, which is an amazing place. Diane,
Yes.
how long have you been involved with the group?
I began, oddly enough, for the purpose of singing Messiah in January of 2008.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, in December of that year, a friend of mine saw an ad, said, I think you want to see this. You've been thinking about singing again. I had not sung this kind of material since college.
Well, it's different. It's different, and
Right.
it's not your average
Right.
music. It's beautiful.
Right, so
Yeah.
I went, I loved it, and it was something, the kind of music my father really liked, and the next Monday, my father left us,
Oh.
and I joined to sing Messiah as a start, as a tribute to him,
Yeah.
and I just fell in love with the group.
So you're doing the Messiah, but you do other pieces as well. So let's
That's
address
right.
some of that, and then we'll talk a little bit more about when I mean, we know where, but when. Yeah.
Sure. So we have already selected our material for the spring.
Yes.
And so I'm sure we'll
You'll
be back to
again
talk
to
again.
talk about
and
that, yeah.
this will be on April 30. We are doing the Brahms Requiem, the Brahms German Requiem in German. And this will be
In German?
That's right. Ein deutsches Requiem.
Oh my
yes.
goodness.
And paired with that piece, because that piece is about an hour long, and beside it I'm pitching the Verdi Stabat Mater, which is another sort of very romantic Italian sacred work, but a
I don't
large,
think I'm familiar with that one.
most people are not, a large contrast to Brahms's sort of humanist, beautiful music in his Requiem. The Stabat Mater only about 15 minutes long, so together a nice
Two
concert,
pieces, yeah.
and that will be at St. Pius X. in
Oh,
Lauderdale.
okay, that's a great location
Lauderdale.
as well.
And we love singing there because it's a large space and there's a lot of wood siding, so it's great acoustic.
Acoustic, yeah. I'm thinking about the German. How difficult is it? Because German is such a guttural, and singing it, and now all of your players or all your singers have to.
Yeah. So
And so they're doing it like phonetically. Are you writing it phonetically or what?
Partially.
You got to get those umlauts in.
That's right. And oddly enough, and I think most choral conductors agree with me, when you have a large chorus, a lot of the time it's almost easier to teach a foreign language than it
Really?
is to teach something in English.
No.
Just because we're so used to speaking a certain way in English, this sort of American
Yeah, with a
English.
flat sound.
And it makes singing like Messiah sometimes pretty challenging. You really have to drill down the sort of taller sounds for a sung English. It's much different.
I am learning
Well, that's
something,
right. That's right.
Andrew.
You
Yeah.
have
so
a
you
tendency
take-
to go into your street voice,
That's
which
right.
is not the kind of voice that
And so
Messiah
you
was
take
written
something like
for.
German or Latin, and a lot of times it just comes so much easier because it's not sounds we make normally.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And the language has rules that it sticks to.
That's right. Yeah, English is tough.
Yeah, we have
Singing
a fair
or
number
otherwise.
of German speakers too. I didn't mean to speak over you.
Yeah,
Well, Mozart, of course, liked German.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of German opera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting when you look at language and you look at, the operas. We always think of opera as being in Italian, but there's French opera and there's
Absolutely.
German
Yep,
and
yep. And English.
English.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, circling back to Handel, he wrote a lot of English music, which up until that time wasn't really the norm. It's just like Mozart was starting to write in German. Before both of those composers, or both of those time periods, it was all Italian.
Well, the court composers
Yeah,
were
that's right.
hired, and then they did the Italian.
That's
That was
right,
it,
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, you've seen Amadeus.
Oh, I love Amadeus.
Oh, yeah.
Too many notes.
Yeah,
too
that's
many
right.
notes. I love
That's
that one scene.
Oh.
There's
That's
just
right.
too many notes.
That's right.
It's a lot of fun. How historically accurate it is, I'm told not, but
Yeah.
it is a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
well, it's interesting. I'm sure that the Requiem at the end, that kind of was probably, was his undoing, but, it's wonderful. And we don't give enough credit to the classical composers. We're so easy to dismiss them or say, oh, that's classical.
Right.
But classical music is something that will never leave us, I don't think.
Right.
Whether you're talking about musicians of Malik or the type of the
Right.
singing that you're doing as well.
There's a certain emotion that I think listeners and performers get out of singing this kind of music and out of playing this kind of music. There's a real drama, and I hope that we capture it well on Saturday.
I'm sure you will.
That comes with a piece like Messiah. You know, it's not just the joy and the wonder of the Hallelujah chorus. There are so many other emotions. Bitterness, anger in the passion sequence, hope and wonder of, you know, the Advent music. It covers a whole range.
And of course, everybody stands up through the.
Yes,
Hallelujah.
the
That
tradition
whole
of
story,
standing,
that whole
that's right.
story is
The
that
king
he got
stood,
tired.
and so,
he was
yeah.
tired of sitting, and he stood up.
Everybody
Who
thought he
cares?
loved
It works, right?
course,
And it
yeah.
makes it a tradition too.
Yes.
Saturday the 10th, go to this Memorial Chapel at Union College. Plenty of parking. They've got some free parking there. Enjoy the entire afternoon and make that part of all of your holiday every year. Do it.
May I add, there is a shuttle that will go
Oh.
from the Knott and Seward parking lot to Memorial
Yeah,
Chapel.
that's because it's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
and that's where the free parking is at the Knott and Stewart.
Yes, yeah, I mean, that's a good lot. It's free all around, but that's a good big lot.
Yeah, it is. It is good. Okay, be sure to do that. Actually, that's where you're going to park for the Harbinger Theater too. So we're going to be talking about that later in the show. Thank you so much for being here, and wishing you all both very happy holidays as well.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
And we're
having
going
us, you
to
two.
swing over and talk to our next guest, which is the Albany Guardian. Oh my goodness, you guys do so much good. I mean, every year I get, well, every season.
You do, you have it.
Every
That's wonderful.
season I get one of these flyers. It comes in the newspaper. It comes, I don't know where, but it magically appears on my desk. And so the Albany Guardian.
Albany Guardian Society, that's
Right.
correct,
Tell me
yes.
about
So, well, first of all,
You're welcome
and,
for the
and
first
thank
time.
you, this is our first time here, and thank you. And it's strange that we haven't been here before because Albany Guardian Society this year is celebrating our 170th birthday. We were actually.
don't look that old.
I know, I look great, don't
You
I?
do
I
look
know.
great.
So we were founded in 1852.
Okay.
And so it's very exciting, and we call ourselves the Hidden Gem because so many people do not know who we are and what we do.
That's why I have you on the show.
And I know, and we appreciate that. And so what we do is we basically want to improve the lives of older adults in and around the capital region, and mainly we do that through education. And so
You have to, you got to keep your brain stimulated.
always, yeah, we
And
want
it's
to
so
never.
easy to kind of become lethargic and just kind of, phase out from the TV or whatever it is.
Exactly.
But your mind has to keep going to kind of keep you young.
It does, and we say never stop learning, never stop learning. So Albany Guardian Society is actually an operating foundation. We are a 501c3, but we are able to be self-funded, which is wonderful, which means that any of the programs and services that we offer are at no cost to the participants,
I don't
which
know
is
how you
very
do it. I mean,
exciting.
I'm sure that the people that are not performing, but presenting, I guess is the word I want to use.
Yes.
Presenting probably do not get paid.
We
do
do actually pay an honorarium
Oh, you
to
do
our
give them an
presenters.
honorarium.
We do, because we actually go out and we find the best presenters we
okay.
can.
All right.
We want to find the experts in that particular field.
Yeah.
So we offer all these classes. We are just finishing up
And they're
our
on Zoom.
fall session. Right now, they're on Zoom, and the pandemic brought us to Zoom. We used to
But
do
it
in-person
was
classes.
good. It was good because there are some people that can't get out. So
That's
it
exactly
really makes
right.
it,
So it really broadened our reach. So we are currently on Zoom. We will be on Zoom through the winter because of the weather. And then in the spring,
You're
we're
trying
going
to
to
do
go back to
in-person.
in-person as well as virtual, and what we're calling combined classes, which means people can join via Zoom or they can come in person.
Right.
And we're really excited to hold our in-person classes because we've recently moved our location.
Where are you located
And
now?
we are now at 12 Corporate Woods Boulevard.
Okay, yeah.
And we have opened a beautiful learning and resource technology center.
Okay.
And it's beautiful. We can have about 60 to 70 people in person in the classroom.
Really?
We have state-of-the-art technology. We can do the virtual classes. We can video our classes. We can host.
You are amazing.
We are. It is so exciting. It is
Because
just
you
so
don't
exciting.
find a lot of technology, you know, in some of the nonprofits.
Well, that
where
was
they're
one of the
struggling with that.
things that our organization and our board really wanted us to move toward. And we just on November 3rd had a beautiful open house where we invited the community and we had local politicians and we had a ribbon cutting and we were able to really show off our new space, which is just
But right now, you're not
amazing.
using that space for the classes.
For those classes,
Yeah.
right? We will be starting in
Yeah,
the
but
spring.
you will
we
be.
are using that space for
Yeah, I'm
meetings
sure you're
and
using
for
it.
coalitions and
Yeah.
for, if somebody, would like to use that space, nonprofits, we are able to use that
Yeah,
space.
that's why I added for the classes.
Exactly.
What type of classes do you have?
Well, we just
Gretchen?
have a range of classes, really dealing with how to age well. Most of our classes are geared towards older adults, but of course we do have them that are geared towards caregivers, and we have a lot of professionals who come to our classes as well.
Yeah, now I have a list here, and I'm going to just look. I'm just going to
Go ahead and find some.
Taking, editing, storing, and viewing photos using your Apple iPhone or
Yes,
iPad.
and I wish I had been able to attend that particular class. A lot of the
That was
classes
on November 10th.
A lot of the classes that we do right now are actually technology classes. Those are among our most popular. So for older adults, many older adults are trying to find their way with technology.
It's challenging for them.
So we offer classes both in person. Actually, we have done a couple of in-person classes on the technology, so that people can bring in their device, their smartphone, their Apple, their Android, their tablet, their laptop, and they can find out how to use it better. And that has been, those classes have been extremely popular.
I find that some people are just kind of frightened. They're afraid they're going to break
They're
it or
afraid-
something. And
exactly.
you're not going to break the computer.
No.
Believe me, it's
Yeah.
not going to break.
Exactly.
But
Yeah,
they
so-
do have that fear of, and it's just simple things. I know just recently somebody said, I can't get it out of my junk file into my email, my active email. And I keep clicking on it. I said, no, don't click on it, just slide it over. And she said, oh, really? That's
Look
all-
at you, you're a technology expert. See
Yeah,
that?
I said, gee
Yeah,
whiz.
that's great.
Yeah, I said, that
Yeah.
just slide it over. Oh, I didn't know that.
So, well, we have people come in person and they've got all of their devices, and those classes are really, really well attended and very popular.
My
So
motto
those are
is
a
when it
few.
comes to technology, don't learn any more than you need, because you can be overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah, there's so much.
There's so much, and I learn as I work. So I've got this down solid. Then I go, oh, I have never clicked on that. Let me see what that does.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And then you
great.
find that out, right?
And that's great.
So, right back to our motto, never stop learning,
Yeah,
right? We
yeah.
always want to keep learning.
Don't be afraid to click on things and look at them.
Right. So those are some of our classes, the
Yeah,
technology
and I'm
classes,
just
and we
gonna
have
look at another
wonderful,
one, fall
wonderful
prevention
instructors.
program.
Fall prevention is great. A lot of the popular classes for us are also the health and wellness. We do chair yoga, we have Tai Chi. Classes, again, those have been
How do
going
you do that on
beautifully.
Zoom? You just
We do it over Zoom, and we, at the moment, can either have the instructor come in and do it at our space, or they do it from home, and they just set up the camera, and they're able to
just
do
show
it
how
from
to
Zoom,
do it.
and we have a lot of folks come to those
now
programs.
you have. I know you have a lot with the classes, which is important.
Right.
But you also have another program, which is housing and transportation.
Well, we have several other things. that
I
we
mean,
do.
I'm-
So-
I've
right,
mentioned
exactly.
those, yeah.
So the other thing is that we determined a while ago, many years ago, that people really didn't have the resources they need to know what kind of housing options were out there and available for older adults. So the Albany Guardian Society took on the huge task of developing a housing directory, and I actually happen to have one right here.
Okay. Now, the housing
So,
directory-
I'll go ahead and give that to
Yeah,
you. Yep.
this is interesting because basically, I think people learn about, oh my gosh, you gotta, many of the ones that are, you have to buy in and
Mm-hmm.
you pay and so, and then you have the people that don't have those resources.
Right.
So are you differentiating in this?
So the housing directory actually covers the counties that we serve, and it's everything from independent
the
living.
apartments, yeah.
Yeah, so it's independent living, assisted living, enhanced living, skilled nursing, subsidized housing.
Yeah, the Carondelet, yeah.
It
Okay.
lists all of that and all of the information, the
Very nice-
contact
very nicely
information.
laid out, too.
There's a picture, there's how much it costs, is there a buy-in, all of that information. And we update this every couple of years. So we are actually getting ready for the very large task of, in the spring, we will be updating our housing directory. This is found online. It is also free. Anyone can call, can email, can stop in. We're happy to mail them a copy or several copies
This
of this.
is an amazing resource.
You know, many professionals keep it right on their desk, folks who are really trying to help some older adults, and a lot of folks refer to it as their Bible. It is such a great resource.
Well, it is. When I'm looking at it, I mean, this is 21-22.
And we're getting ready to go into the 23.
Yeah, 23, and I'm looking, for instance, I'm looking at one right here, and it tells you, it gives you the phone number, the fax number, the web address, the administrator, whether it's a not-for-profit, whether it's a profit, whether it's got an elevator, what the payment information is. This is amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. And like I said,
have it all in one place.
People have already been asking for it. When's the new one? Of course, I brought that for you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And then because that was so helpful and such a great resource, a few years ago, it was decided we would add another directory, because another thing that people really struggle with, especially older adults, is transportation.
How do I get there?
Where do I find transportation? So, and I brought another gift for
Okay.
you.
Thank
Here
you.
is our transportation options directory. Covers the same counties, which is Albany, Rensselaer, Schenectady, and Saratoga
I did not
Springs.
know there was all this.
And there it has all of the various transportation options in it.
Oh, my goodness.
So now we don't.
I've
we
heard
don't
of Star,
actually,
that's all I know is Star. you
Right,
know.
exactly. And we don't actually provide the service.
No, I
Like,
know you
sometimes
don't.
people call and they say to us, I have an
I need a
appointment on
ride.
Friday, can I get a ride? And we don't do that, but what we will do is send them the guide, or
Yeah.
we'll go through it on the phone with them, and we'll help them find, what it is that they might need.
It's just so difficult, I know, for people that will say, well, I don't drive anymore. You know, and it's not that they can't drive, they're a little afraid to drive.
Well, there are people who are afraid, and there are people who can't, and there's any number of reasons
Yeah.
that people may need the transportation. So our objective is to be a resource to the
Yeah,
older
and you
adults
must
in
feel
this
really good
area.
about your job.
Oh, it's so exciting. It's Albany Guardian Society is such a wonderful organization. They do such great work.
Now,
and
is
we are
this,
so fortunate.
is the Albany Guardian the only Guardian, or is this like a national and you're part of the Albany and?
So, no, we are our own independent
Okay.
501c3.
Okay.
It actually was founded, like I said, in 1852. It was founded actually originally as an adult home that was started by 5 women, which is just so exciting in the 1850s. And they had an adult home, which then at a certain time, that wasn't the way to go. So they closed the adult home, they invested the funds, and they decided to start a foundation, which they said the Albany Guardian Society is going to continue helping older adults in
Yeah.
the capital region in whatever way we can, whether it's through our classes, through the directories. We get involved in other initiatives and projects. The village movement is something that we're
Yeah,
looking
that's in
at
the villages,
and that
yeah.
we're involved in,
Yeah.
and that people can call us and find out about, having a community start a village.
Yeah.
Because it takes a village, and for people who want to age in place, village might be a great
Yeah, not
option.
everybody wants to just move and leave,
Right,
and-
exactly.
it's
You
like
wanna
you're-
stay in your
Not only that, but
neighborhood.
you're healthier in your own home a lot of
Absolutely,
times.
absolutely.
I mean, you feel more secure, you feel, although some people don't feel secure in their own home, they need something else.
Whatever works for people.
Yeah.
Some people want to stay in their homes. Some people want to move into, an
Smaller
independent,
place,
a
yeah.
smaller place. Some people might want to move into. There are some actually in the capital region. There are some beautiful independent living older adult, residences.
I know.
And I know
I've
people
been
who
to
move
some of them
there
to
and
see-
they love
visit.
them. So it's whatever works for those individuals, and that's what the Albany Guardian Society is really about. How do we help each older adult find what's best for them in a way that they can age well? Because you know what, we're
What
all
a
doing
resource.
it. We're
What a
all
re-
aging, right?
Yeah. Well, everybody's going to.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
If you're lucky.
If we're lucky.
If
we're
you're lucky,
it
you're gonna
happens.
age, right.
So we want to make sure that people know Albany Guardian Society is there to really help people to age well. And again, call us, visit our website, find out who we are and what we do.
Well, we're
We
going to
welcome
keep the word
everyone.
going and maybe have you back on again and talk more
We
about.
would love that, and we are going to look for you at some of our future classes.
Yes,
'cause
yeah,
we've
well,
got some
I do,
great
I have
ones.
taken your classes.
Yeah, and we've got some really good ones coming up. We actually have one, and because we've got one this
She's
winter.
gonna get me- she's gonna get me
Listen,
signed up.
Benita's on.
Oh, I
Is
love
go-
Benita.
She's going to be strengthening your mental health.
Yeah.
I know, how exciting is that?
Yeah,
that we've got her to
she
come.
works for a cardiology group.
She does, yeah, and she's doing great
Yeah,
things, but
I've-
we're so
I've met her a
excited to
number
have her
of
come.
times, yeah.
So we're just excited to have wonderful presenters and people who really enjoy our classes. Our classes now are anywhere from 30 people to a few hundred. because of Zoom,
Zoom, you
we
can
can
do as many as
accommodate
you
that.
want.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Well, I'm gonna check, your new list when it comes out, because this one is
Yes,
old.
it's going to be hitting the website
But
very
I mean, look at
shortly.
Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and Tai Chi, and, I mean, it's effectively using your iPhone, coping with grief and stress.
Oh, we had one on how to write your obituary. That was a really popular one just a few weeks
That's a
ago.
good one, you know?
And that came about because it was requested. Some of we always ask our participants, what topics would you like to see? And they requested how to write an obituary. So we had that,
I
and
should
then
do
just
that. I gotta
and the
write
other
my own.
night we had one about writing a eulogy.
Yeah,
So there you go.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna-
really something new and
I'm
different.
gonna do that.
Yeah, you're going to do that. You're going to figure out how to write that obituary. There you
Why
go.
not?
It's-
Why would you leave it
Well,
for
it's
somebody else?
always good to be prepared.
Yeah.
So
Well, absolutely, and then my kids don't have to scratch their heads and say, what do we say
It's
about my
helpful.
mother? She never did anything.
right, exactly. It's good to get those things out there. So we have classes, and again, we welcome the input from our participants and from the folks who say, we really want to see a topic on this.
Good.
And that's what we do.
Thank you so much, Gretchen.
Thank
Look forward
you.
to having you
Thanks
again.
for having me.
Say
We
hi to Mary.
appreciate it.
Sorry she couldn't make it.
Yeah, Mary couldn't be here, but she definitely sends her regards, and
I'll
I
get to
can't
meet
wait to come on again.
Good, good.
Okay.
We'll have you on again.
Thanks,
so
Ann.
much, Gretchen. Have
Yep.
a wonderful holiday
Thank
as
you,
well.
you too.
And now we're going to switch over to an empty seat.
Hello.
What
An empty
happened?
seat? I'm here.
No, I mean, there's an empty seat there. I'm looking for Patrick.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, well, this has been one of those days. Did our first guest ever show up? I need a yes or no. No? No. No, okay, good. So we lost the first guest, and now we lost Patrick.
I'm sorry.
You know what, Chris? I'm so happy you're here.
Me too.
Chris and Patrick are a force in this community. They are, I call theater, if you look up theater in the dictionary, your names come up.
Well, we do see a lot of shows, and we do support
I
a
love
lot
your
of theaters.
Christmas letter. They send out a Christmas letter, and their Christmas letter is amazing because what it does is it lists every show almost that they've seen through the season. And I look on Facebook, and there's a picture, and we're in Bennington, and we're here, and we're there, and we're that. And
Right, well,
you buy a lot of gas.
yes, we do. But it also lets people know, where things are going on, and, things that they can enjoy. And, there's people spend a lot of time putting these things together. It'd be nice if they have audiences to see them.
Absolutely. Now, we'll start out with the Agony and the Agony, which is about a playwright.
Sure, it's about a failed playwright who is very sad.
There aren't too many of those, are
No,
there?
I'm sure there's not. And he's a bit of a sad sack, and he's a hypochondriac, and he has really cut himself off from the world in a lot of ways because he's very bitter about one particular rejection letter that turned him very sour. And it turns out that the gentleman, the producer director that wrote that rejection letter, is arriving at his apartment that night through certain machinations that happen.
Oh my goodness.
And so we all
There's
wait
no
to see.
conflict there
Well,
at all.
oh no, not at all. To see what happens.
Yeah.
It's a very funny comedy.
Oh, it's a comedy. So
It is.
It's not a tragedy.
The
It
agony,
sounds
the
almost like a
agony, and the
tragedy.
agony. It kind of clues you into that.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
How big is your cast?
6. Yeah,
Six.
6 people. It's the playwright, his wife, her lover, his
Oh, wow.
lover,
Oh, okay.
and the producer, director, and then also Nathan Leopold of Leopold and Loeb, the Killers from the 20s. So Nathan Leopold, the ghost of Nathan Leopold, makes an appearance in the
Oh
play.
my God.
Yeah. So I'm calling it like Christmas Carol now for Richard Aglow, which is the main character, because he's this cranky old guy who's he's very bitter about the world, and through this ghost that comes to visit him, he has this transformation by the end of the play.
So it is sort of a Christmas.
It is. That's what I'm saying.
So I know that Patrick, and I'm sure that you're involved in choosing plays, and you try to, look outside of the box. You're looking out there and getting plays from the underserved. And so, how did you pick this one?
So, with all our plays this year, they are all regional premieres, and it's not that Harvey and Arsenic and Old Lace aren't wonderful plays.
But everybody
They
does.
are, but you will see them at other theaters. And we feel that there's a whole slew of plays that have been written that are wonderful, that people should experience. So our mission is to, one of our missions is to, pick plays that people don't know and let them see what they're about. Yep.
Stretch your theater experience. I saw Chris in Destroying David. Was it Destroying David?
Destroying David, yeah.
You were amazing in that.
Oh, thank
Because
you.
you did so many changes, and oh my gosh, it was such an exciting play for me. And I loved the staging, and it was over at St.
At the Opelka Gallery.
The Opelka,
Yeah.
Gallery. So I see that, and of course Patrick chose to do Men in Boats with Women.
Yep.
So I love the idea that he's, you just don't say, well, we got to do it this way.
Yeah, well, one of the things is we don't really have a home per se. So we are like this play is being
Union.
performed at Union College in a
The Yeoman Theater?
Yep. In the small theater in their studio.
Okay.
So, but it's a collaboration with Union College. We did that show at the Opelka. We've used the Albany Barn. We are collaborating with Sand Lake Center for the Arts next year for next year's season, and also with Albany Civic Theater.
So you're working Brian Sheldon over there.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
we are.
yeah.
So we are using different sites. I would say the Albany Barn is the closest thing we have to a home, because that's where Patrick has his acting class with Patrick White classes, and that's Harbinger stemmed out of that to begin with. And they did we did a play, as soon as we could do a play after the pandemic in 2021, we did that in December of 21. It was called The Christians by Lucas Nath.
I saw, that was.
Yeah,
I
about a
guess-
megachurch. It's a very exciting play, actually. And then we got a group of people together and said, rather than just do these individual plays, why don't we start a theater company? So that's how Harbinger started. And at that time, we talked about the kinds of plays that we wanted to produce. We talked about different titles, but we wanted to make sure that there was stuff that was new, not.
And it's fresh because it's new.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you say, Arsenic and Old Lace, they're all great plays, and Kind Lady and all that. I mean, we've seen
But you'll
it.
see them,
You're
and
gonna
you will
see
see them in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like the idea of taking a playwright that perhaps is not Edward Albee or one of those. I mean, and giving them a voice.
Sure.
Yeah.
This playwright is Nicky Silver, and this play stemmed out. He had written a play, and maybe 2 years before this play was originally produced, either 2004, 2005, about it was a very heavy subject. About a couple who find out that their son is a pederast, and so the critics raked him over the coals,
Yeah.
and he got reviews
topic,
it was
yeah.
terrible, and so he wanted to quit he wanted to quit writing for the theater.
No wonder he wrote the playwright.
So then he wrote this play called The Agony and the Agony, because he said, if I'm going to go out, like having a blast doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So he wrote this play. He wrote a part for himself, the playwright. So he performed in it.
Oh, did he?
And no critics were allowed to come see the show. But there were a lot of other great actors. It was produced at the Vineyard. It went over really well, and it reinvigorated his, spirit.
So now he's going to write another play.
Well, he has. I mean,
Yeah.
the Lions is probably his best known play.
So
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you talk about these playwrights that have struggled and tried to within themselves to try and get out to get another play. I imagine every playwright has gone through that, where they've had one that wasn't quite up to par.
Well, I think all artists have, that you have a picture that you painted that that's not your favorite, or I've directed productions that that are a lot of them are really good, and then there's one or two that you go, that was kind of a miss.
Yeah.
You know, so.
When you realize that painters actually paint over and over.
Well, right.
Right, because the canvas is more important than the picture that they did before.
Right, so, you know, actors and directors, they just have to go on to the next property, you know,
Yeah.
next piece.
Now, we do want to mention that Patrick also does an acting class as well.
Yeah, that's how this, as I said, this is
It
how the
morphed
theater.
into this, yeah. And I know that people have enjoyed his classes.
They
and-
do.
Yeah.
They do. It's great. You know, I'm an actor. I've been an actor for a long time. I still take classes with him because it's great exercise. It's great. You know, it keeps my mind active. You know, and you can always learn. You're always learning.
What?
So.
Okay. I mean, I see these actors that claim, you know, they're stars in Hollywood, and so they've never taken an acting class.
Sure.
How does that work? Is there something innate in some people that they can act without, and then there's the others that have to go through, okay, you're a tree and you got to, you know, the whole thing, you know. How does that work? Because I'd like to know.
So, well, you know, first of all, I think it's different for everybody. I also think most people are capable of doing it. It's just allowing yourself to maybe be foolish in front of other people and allowing
Right,
that to
right.
happen. But I
But
also.
you and I both know that you got these actors that have never taken
Well,
a class.
there's for me. There's personality actors too, and then there's chameleons. So, Katharine Hepburn is a personality actor. Almost everything she does,
Is the
it's
same.
kind of the same. And then Meryl
It
Streep is
You're
more.
absolutely right.
And Meryl Streep is more like a chameleon. You
Oh,
know what I
she
mean?
can play anything.
Right? Because so she
Robert De Niro, I mean, you
invests
get the- yeah.
different things. And I think it's very. So I think those classes are important because they teach you, a little bit technique. Because even though I'm not going to approach every play exactly the same each time, I can use my technique, which will allow me to, find certain things in each play. It's like a blueprint that I can set on each play and start working on it.
And I understand that some actors will have kind of a trademark, like a movement that they do, one of those.
Oh, I suppose.
Yeah, and that makes them a little bit, gives them a little bit of, although you never notice it, it's within
Yeah, I see. I always sort of throw that more into the personality
the
actor
personality.
trait.
Yeah. I love acting. I mean, it's fun, and as I've always said, is that, and when I've been on stage, is that sometimes you'll do something at one performance and people just laugh and that I hit that right on the mark, and then the next time you do it and it's like silence out there and you're going,
Well, that's
then you're there going, what did I do wrong?
No, right. But you probably did nothing wrong.
No, I know.
Audiences listen differently too.
So they're the third. They're part of that play.
They are. They're part of. It's not just the. There's the actors, there's the director, and then the audience. That makes up the other side of the triangle.
Yeah.
There.
Well, we got to encourage people to go to the Ullman Theater, which is over at the Union College.
Yep, the Ullman,
Park
yeah.
over at Ullman, and it's if you park over by Knott and Seward, it's
Yes, if you
easy,
use
it's a free park.
so I would use Google Maps and put in the Knott Seward parking lot, and it'll take you right where you need to go. Because for some reason, if you put the theater in there, sometimes it tries to take you in from the other side of the campus, and there's no direct route there.
Is the theater over by where the cafeteria is? Where is it, the theater?
The theater is in the northwest corner of the campus.
Northwest.
So it's where Seward and Knott Street and Seward Place come together.
Okay, so you don't have to walk very far.
No, from the parking lot, you can see the theater.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good, yeah. I'm planning on coming because I got to.
Oh, great.
Yeah, great. So, thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you, Patrick. I'm sorry you didn't make it today.
Yeah,
but
he'll
that's-
hear about this.
I know. That's okay. Patrick, we love you no matter what. Whether you're here or not, you're here in spirit.
That's right.
Good. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
holiday.
Same to you.
Good. Seymour Theater.
Yeah.
Impossible. We're going to go over to the New York Folklore now, and oh my gosh, if you love folklore, if you love art, if you love fabric, if you love trains, I don't care, give me the topic, you're going to find it there, right, Ellen?
Yes.
Yeah, Ellen McHale is the director there, and with it she's brought Beth Taylor, who is a fabric not designer, what,
A fabric artist and a
artist,
quilter.
okay, there you go. And you do wreaths.
Actually, I make wall hangings and other things. We happen to be having a workshop.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
a wreath workshop, but we also have I also have a show there right now
I know you do.
of mostly wall hangings.
So tell me, now I know that she brought some, I saw the pictures on the wall. Are those in fabric? Are you, really?
Yeah. When I'm making something, I think of the fabric as almost as paint. And I use color and I put fabric together in a lot. I appreciate landscapes a lot and other things as well.
I had no idea that you could do, as a pharmacist, I know friends that got all kinds of tablets and made pictures with all the different colored tablets. And I thought that was unique, but this is more unique, is doing it in fabric. Yeah. What got you started, Beth?
I actually, one thing I do with wall hangings, I put words on wall hangings and print on fabric so that I can send a message sometimes. And I got started because I really appreciate words and being able to see a kind thought when you're walking around, or sometimes lyrics. And I got started that way.
That was your start.
Yeah, finding a base for words is how I
Yeah.
got started.
And then where do you get your fabric? Do you just get old fabric, or do you get new fabric, or do you just strip it up? I'm so interested in what you do.
I use fabric from lots and lots of sources. I do think it's wonderful to use what you have, and much as the G's Ben quilters quilted from all their leftover clothing
Right.
and anything. I definitely use what I have, but there are many sources, a great time for fabric. Many designers, even book illustrators, children's book illustrators are now making fabric. Knitters are making fabric. So it's a really great time to find gorgeous fabric.
Yeah. Ellen, how did you find her?
I'm not sure. Lori Longfield, our gallery manager, I
Yeah.
think, had conversations with Beth. And Beth is local to Schenectady, so I think the location maybe.
Wandering on J Street. There's so many things going on J Street.
I know, isn't it
Yeah,
amazing?
and I just found them
great
there.
restaurants and everything
Yeah,
down there.
wandered. So that's how I went in, because it's a very interesting place. They have artists, kind of a wide range of artists, from wood, painting, metalwork. They had recently an iconographic, wonderful artist. And I just walked in because I was attracted to what I saw in the window off the street. So.
Yeah, and I've been to a number of their exhibits, and I remember the the photographer that did all the trains and all the, well, not just trains, but all the pictures that he did. And of course, I've seen the others where you've done sculptures and the others. So you found her, basically, she dropped in.
She found us, yeah.
Yeah. But I know that you also do, New York Folklore does things not just in our area, that you do it in other areas as well, because you're New York.
We are in
Folklore.
New York, so it's difficult to cover the state, but I have an incredible staff, and we have folks who are working in different regions of the state right now to identify artists, to identify cultural traditions that are happening in different places. So at this point right now, we have somebody who's working predominantly in the Hudson area, Ann Rappaport, who is in our office, works more in the Capital District and in the Mohawk Valley, and we just are working with a young woman in Binghamton. So we have some a field worker in Binghamton.
Now, do you have exhibits there? Is that, or do you just, tell me a little bit more about what you do as an outreach.
Well,
From the Schenectady out, even though you're New York. Yeah.
So we try to partner with organizations that are in those regions, because it's odd for us to just swoop in and
It's
say,
easy.
here we are.
Yeah, it's easy to partner.
Yeah, so in Hudson, for example, we will be in 2023, I believe, partnering with the library and also with Hudson Hall to do some performances, maybe some presentations. We have begun to do some demonstrations of food preparation, so
yeah.
food waste project, so we hope to be working with that. We did a food waste demo in Cohoes this past Sunday, challah bread making for Hanukkah.
Yeah.
So that will be in Hudson. In Binghamton, actually, we partner with a national organization called Local Learning, and we have been doing some teacher training workshops with artists and teachers to try to infuse folk arts in the curriculum. And so,
that's a good idea.
yeah, so our woman who's working in Binghamton is working towards that goal, that we'll be doing this workshop in Binghamton in the summer. We'll also be doing a similar one in the Capital District, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that is. Now, do you do anything with the Native Americans?
We do, actually. I was just telling Beth, we are just starting a project with the Seneca Nation.
Okay.
And on Friday, I go to the Seneca Nation to have a meeting. We've been doing some planning meetings for the last probably 5 or 6 months, but this will be our first face-to-face. So we do have some targeted...
I mean, that has a foundation in our state.
It certainly does.
The Native Americans, they're very, I mean, they were here before us, let's face it. You
Yes, and it is a sovereign nation, so it'll be, that'll be a project. I don't know where it will go, but we have begun a partnership with them, and they're kind of in the driver's seat.
Yeah, it's important, I think, to reach out to groups that, no matter what groups they are, because if they were part of the foundation in our state, then that's part of it.
Yes,
Then,
yeah, and we've been working with artists for several years. This is the first time we're actually working with the nation.
Good for you.
So that.
Yeah, no, I've seen the baskets and things that you've had there as well. So Beth, when you're doing a Wreath workshop, and that's going to be on, was it 10th? I think I forgot the date.
Yeah, it's on Saturday, and we're just doing something. It's also thinking about color and creativity and
Yeah, the 10th at 10 a.m.
Yeah, I think I'm very interested in someone new to the Folklore Society. I think the way that they are sharing and teaching and bringing creativity and art out of people's background and into other people's new reality. And I think that when I look at that workshop and just doing things in general, I want to help people think about creativity and how wonderful it is to share creativity together. And quilting is certainly something that has always had that tradition.
Oh my goodness,
from
yes.
community.
Well, when it comes to quilting, it was like they used to have quilting bees, work together on it.
Yeah.
So the wreaths, okay, so you're going to supply all the fabrics.
Yes, we are.
Okay, and how, I mean, is it you just put stuff
Yeah,
together,
yeah,
or is
yeah.
it, or do you have an idea of color, or, I mean, how does that work?
I actually, you'll find the gamut of people on that question, and I'm not really a planner. And I start.
I love people like that.
I'm not a planner. I start with and I hope at this workshop and other things I do that people will do what they like to do and choose what they like to choose. I think in some classes that I've taught, it fascinated me how even with children, when you ask children, when you throw a lot of color and fabric and get them to do something with it, some children and adults can't choose what they like together. So you'll say, oh, pick something you like, and they'll say, well, tell me what goes together, tell me what I should like. And so I'm really interested in that question. And
yeah, that's interesting that with kids, we kind of, make sure you're within the lines, and I mean, we kind of take away the creativity with kids by telling them what they need to do.
Right.
But I was just curious whether you had some idea of whether it was going to be all green or whether it was going to be.
I do a lot of work for churches as well. I make paraments and cloths and things for churches, and in that case, you're usually given a parameter of, if it's ordinary time or Lent or Advent, then there's a color. And so I usually start, and one thing I really enjoy doing with those projects is getting a congregation to give me fabric to use.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's usually a combination of things that I bring to the table and what they bring to the table as well.
Yeah. Have you ever been involved with the Kids Art Festival?
Not here, I haven't, no.
You know what? I think that would be really great. I'm kind of on that committee, so I'm going to keep you in mind. because it would be something, I think, that would be
Yeah.
an addition that we have never really done. We've done painting and
Yeah.
all the other things.
It's like working with fabric is they can't get hurt. A child can't get hurt. I mean, and,
Not unless they're using scissors, and I
Right,
don't think
right.
they're using scissors, so.
right, and it doesn't have to be. You can make things so that they're not high skill. Moving, putting things with glue where they like it, and then
Yeah.
an adult can come around behind them and sew it if you want to do that with it. I've with some classes, schools that done that so that you gave children a few pieces, and in some cases I had an idea of what I thought they would make with those pieces, and each
If you
child
give them an
yeah.
idea,
Yeah,
just an
but they
idea.
didn't do it. They didn't
Yeah.
do what I thought they would do.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. And then we sewed them all together for them.
How wonderful. It's so delightful. It's such a pleasure to meet you, Beth,
Thank
and to learn
you.
about what you're doing. And of course, Ellen, I know, is so excited about all kinds of things that we do at the New York Folklore. They're located at 129 J Street, which is in Schenectady. It's a pedestrian way, so you can actually, park and then walk there. And there's lots of things to do on J Street anymore,
There is.
with galleries and food and so many things, and
It's
a
a-
bookstore and you name it.
It's a busy place.
Yeah. And I know they have a lot of events there as well. I want to thank you both for being here. I think that it's been a delight to see you again and know that you're doing some great things. And of course, keep coming back when you have these new, and I'm going to be in touch with you, Beth,
Thank
about
you.
that.
Thank
That
you.
would be cool.
Thank you
For
very
the Kids
much.
Art Festival. And we might be ending a little bit early today, but let me tell you who's coming on our next show. We have an author. Well, actually, we have two authors coming up. Well, before I do that, I should say that I want to. Let me go with this. Let me tell you this, and then I'm going to tell you about the Civic Players. Is the Civic Players up first, by the way? If the Civic Players is, I'll address that first. Let's go to Civic Players. The Civic Players is having an event. There should be some pictures there with Civic Players somewhere. There it is, coming up, okay. The Schenectady Civic Players is having a fundraiser, and it's being performed by Act Two, which is a group, and they're going to be performing this Friday night, which is December the 9th. It's going to be a great evening. For only $15, you're going to get wine and cheese for the pre-performance, and then there's the performance afterwards. So please support them, and it's only $15. I do want to just encourage you to start your holiday season off by going to the Schenectady Civic Players. Now I'm going to tell you who's coming on next. We have actually two authors coming on. The first one is Robert Michaels, and he's written a book called Civics and Science, and we'll be talking about him and his book. And then we're going to be talking with John Sorensen. He's written a book called When Mommy Was a Commie. You gotta figure what that one's going to be about. We're going to be talking about the Beat the Snow concert that's coming up. Kwanzaa Coalition is coming up as well, and they're having some big events coming up, especially one at the New York State Museum, which they have every year, which is an amazing event. And then we're going to be talking, I think I've cut one, two, I think I got most of them now. Yeah, Beat the Snow, yeah, I think I got them all. But we have a great lineup coming up, and we hope that you will join us for our next show. And get ready for those holidays coming up. I'm in Perillo, and we're cutting a little bit short. One of our guests did not show up, so thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you at the next show.